making the steak recipe of 6 of the most popular food content creators on YouTube to see who makes the best steak. I bought the exact steak each YouTuber used in their video to test their recipe. Our first YouTuber is Adam Ragusa, and his video is why I season my cutting board and not my steak. Now this video was kind of crazy. It went super viral. It has 22 million views. It's a crazy concept because, you know, steak is tried and true. You season salt, pepper, maybe some garlic powder, you throw it on, you sear it, you take it off, you Gucci. He says that a steak acts like a sponge. You know, when you cut it, you lose all those juices, you just lose them. But if you wait a little bit, you can reabsorb them. So, Adam Ragusa uses a New York strip steak in this recipe. We have our steak. He said you can salt it up to 40 minutes beforehand. That's what I did. We'll do a little pad dry here. Okay, so we're not seasoning this bad boy. We're just throwing good old olive oil on it, you know, so we can get a nice shading-a-ding going. I feel like when I watched his video, it made a lot of sense, but I remember a lot of food people at the time were just like, nah, that's cap. I feel like it is gonna be good. All right, I've got my steak massaged and ready. Let's transfer this bad boy over. For any other steak video, the focus would be the steak, but this one's the cutting board. So for our cutting board, we're gonna do a little bit of rosemary. We'll chop that up real quick. Some lemon zest. I don't know if I've ever had lemon zest on a steak before. I feel like lemon is one of those things that makes literally everything better. Salt, of course. Adam says one reason he does this is because he likes the raw garlic over the like cooked garlic, because garlic can get kind of bitter when it gets cooked, you know. He also recommends some garlic. Bro, we are loading this cutting board up. And the last ingredient's butter, but we're gonna wait on that. In the meantime, let's cook this steak. Steak is in. Look at that steak.
That's a good ass f***ing steak, man.
And steak is going on the cutting board. All right, we're gonna cut into this thing. Okay, my steak is cut up. I feel like there's not a ton of steak juices coming out of this thing, but we're gonna run it around the cutting board now. I feel like all the fresh like spices on it do look pretty good though. Like this thing is getting absolutely coated. It looks delicious. So there's a lot of juice on the cutting board, but we are supposed to let it rest. He said it is gonna kind of naturally absorb it all, so we're gonna try to absorb it all as much as we can. This looks absolutely delicious. Let that rest for a second, act as the sponge. Okay, here we go. Whoa. Wow, I actually really like the lemon. The lemon sticks out. I feel like the inside of the steak doesn't have a ton of flavor because, you know, nothing's really seeping through it. But dude, I mean, there is definitely a lot of flavor. The garlic is really sharp. Like you definitely taste the garlic more like directly. I have so many steaks ahead of me, but I'm so hungry, man. Today's video, we're only gonna be rating the steaks out of 2 qualities, taste and texture. New York strip steak, pretty good. I like the flavor of the steak. It doesn't taste like any steak I've had before. Taste, I mean, I've never had a steak taste like that before. Did it blow me away? No. I'm gonna give the taste about a 7. This is pretty average in my opinion. I wouldn't recommend cooking a steak this way. Not the most tender cut of meat. My favorite is a filet because it's super tender. I value the tenderness over the meaty flavor of something like a ribeye. That's me personally. Texture-wise, it's pretty average. We're gonna go 7 out of 10 on the texture. I mean, I feel like for this recipe, it's hard to rate texture because it's really just how well I cooked it. He didn't really give a lot of instructions for the steak itself. And the next YouTuber is Googa Foods. He is the king of steak on YouTube. Literally, this man's whole channel is steak. I don't think Googa was gonna approve the cutting board method, but we're gonna go with his method here, which is a reverse sear. So I've got my oven set to 250 degrees. We're gonna season this steak with garlic powder, and I know he'd want me to get the sides too. Salt, of course. Bro, this already looks way more flavorful than the last one. And pepper. Then we are gonna transfer that to a wire rack. This is going in the oven for an hour. Let's go, baby. All right, my steak is out of the oven and it is ready to be seared. I am excited. Okay, so we want our pan smoking hot. First thing first, the fat cap. Okay, my fat is capped. This is going in for only like 30 seconds and he wants me to keep moving it around so I can get all the oil, making sure I get good oil coverage all over it. A little worried I might be losing some spices in the process, but this move around method, I'm not sure about. I feel like just letting it sit still is better. All right, it's flipped. All right, now we're gonna throw in butter, thyme, and garlic. The smells are amazing. I'm gonna just baste the steak with the butter. This steak looks so freaking good. I'm just gonna cover it with the thyme, the garlic, of course, and we're gonna get some of that juice on it. And now we're gonna let that rest for a little bit. The hardest part of making Googa steak was having to wait to eat it. I know you're supposed to let steaks rest, but it is just so hard to wait when you see a steak that looks this good. It is time, baby. Move all y'all out of the way. Cooked it a little bit more on the medium side, unfortunately, a little more on the medium plus, unfortunately for your boy. I think this is still gonna taste absolutely amazing. Oh my God. Wow. I mean, you just taste the butter-basted flavor. You get that kick of the thyme. I obviously overcooked it quite a bit. I want to apologize to the steak and to the viewers and to Googa, but I feel like the butter really imparts the flavor better the way Googa does it as opposed to the cutting board method. There's so much flavor in every bite. I love the herbs. The thyme really just adds this herby element to it. I feel like cooking the garlic down also kind of adds to the steak. So for taste, I gotta give Googa a 9. For texture, obviously overcooking it, that's on me. I've reverse seared steaks before and it is a good method. You should be doing it with a thicker steak than what I've done. I'm gonna give that a 9 as well, so for Googa steak, I'm giving it the 18 out of 20. I would recommend this to anybody. Our next YouTuber is Binging with Babish. He has his Basics with Babish series, and we are doing skirt steak for his. And now in the intro of his video, he says this.
There's only one king of steaks in my mind, and that is ribeye.
But then he shows you how to make a skirt steak and a ribeye, and since we already have 2 other ribeyes coming later in this video, I figured let's do skirt steak. This is actually the first steak I used to cook all the time. This is used a lot for like Mexican dishes, carne asada, stuff like that. So according to Babish, because it's so thin, we only need to season one side. Don't agree with that, but we're following his recipe today. So kosher salt and pepper, and let's head to the stove. So in his video, he liked to grab the pan like this, spread the oil around. It's a new one for me. Steak is in. It feels very wrong to see the unseasoned side of a steak. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little upset right now. He also says this steak comes together really quickly, which it does, it's really thin, and that you just kind of have to get a feel for it. So that's not very helpful, Babish, for a tutorial, but he also says aim for 115 on your meat thermometer. I feel like getting to 115 is gonna happen kind of fast. All right, it's at 115. That came together really, really fast. So here's the weird part. We're gonna cover this in tin foil and wait 10 whole minutes. All right, so I will see you guys in 10 minutes. Steak is looking pretty juicy. I wonder if that helps it retain a lot of the juices that it pulls out. All the juices on top. So let's cut this bad boy up. Ooh, so much juice. So this is an interesting steak. All of the direction is going this way. So Babish says we have to go diagonally against that. And this is really important for this steak. Ooh, we got a nice nice temperature on the inside though. I mean, pretty much a perfect medium rare. My best cooking job so far, at least. It tastes super basic. Now, personally, when I cook a skirt steak, I like to add cumin, cayenne pepper, chili powder, stuff like that, a little bit of lime juice. So I'm just gonna throw some lime juice on the steaks. You know, this is the one I made myself. I'm gonna save this for tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna try to spruce this up a little bit because I feel like this steak really does complement those types of flavors so well. Nice and tender. It would absolutely slap with some guacamole and some tortillas though, I'll tell you that. So I did follow his recipe, I added on to it obviously after the fact. Taste-wise, I feel like this is a steak that you actually do need to go more than salt and pepper. Taste-wise, I gotta give Babish a 5, man. I'm a little disappointed in him here. I did like the tinfoil method. This is really tender. It's got a lot of the juices in it still. Texture-wise, I mean, this was pretty good. I gotta give this a 9. So that brings Babish up to a total of 14, which is kind of mid, to be honest. Between this and Adam Ragusa's, I would lean this one just because this one is a lot easier to fix, whereas Ragusa's, I don't know if you're fixing it too much, but we are on to the next steak. And now we have Joshua Wisman. You know, I couldn't resist doing the cabinet shot. Sometimes I wonder if Joshua is hiding in my cabinets. He is. So for Joshua Wisman, we've got the 2-inch ribeye steak. My market did have thick ribeyes, so clap it up for my market, everybody. So for this steak, we are going to be doing the standard salting and peppering. So the most important thing, of course, waiting for this to get up to room temperature. I already did that. This thing is a room temp as can be. To the stove we go. We are not going to be reverse searing it, but just like Googa, halfway through we are going to do our butter, garlic, and thyme. But first, let's get this bad boy on there. Joshua says 3 minutes on the first side before we flip that over. Okay, 3 minutes. Oh, that's some great color. That is some great color. All right, we're just basting away. Basting away. So we're looking for an internal temperature of 135. That's when he says to pull it out. Wow, we're only at 88. We're quite a ways away from that. Might take a little bit to get there. Now this is a beautiful, beautiful steak. My God. We've had a lot of good ones today. This might be the best looking one. I mean, that crunch. I really hope I didn't overcook it. I was using the internal temperature. It felt like it was going for a long time, but my problem is I've cooked a lot of steaks myself and I just tend to have a feel for it, but then when I follow a recipe, it just never seems to go well, but it's like a medium. Let's give it a go. Oh my God. The crust, it's like actually got like not a crunch, but it's like very contrasty texture. It's really nice. And the ribeye is really fat. It's like perfectly steak flavored. I've had so much steak today, I really should stop eating steak, but I can't. All right, rating this steak though. Taste, I mean, this was a 10. Texture, also a 10. We're on to the next chef. Our next chef is Gordon Ramsay. Now his steak is super similar to Josh Wisman. It's similar to Googa. The butter basting with the thyme and the garlic. The only real difference with Gordon's is the cut of meat. He says we're gonna use a sirloin, so I got a sirloin. Mine doesn't have a huge fat cap, so hopefully that's not a big deal. There is more ordering and timing to some of the adding of the garlic and the thyme. That's the real difference here. We're gonna start by salting generously, as Gordon would say. He cooks his rare, medium rare in the video, so we're gonna aim for the same thing. So this is gonna come together super fast. My pan is working overtime today. Okay, quick sear. Probably like 30-second sear. Okay, I'm gonna tilt the pan, get my fat cap totally in there to really render down that fat. That is not a good sear. Okay, first the garlic goes in, then the thyme goes in, and we're actually gonna brush our steak with the garlic. Then the butter. Again, I really don't want to overcook this. On my last cooking video, I put in Gordon's recipe in the oven thinking he said Fahrenheit, he said Celsius, so I did Papa Gordon wrong before, I won't do him wrong today. In Gordon's video, his pork had this like crazy caramel looking color on the fat. Yeah, I feel like this doesn't look a lot like his. And what the difference in Gordon is there's much more emphasis on flipping back and forth. And I don't want to overcook this, so we're gonna take it out kind of early. I don't feel like I got the best marbling on it. Okay, and to finish off, we're gonna take our time. Gordon's video is hilarious because he literally says let it rest, and then the next thing his video shows is him cutting it, but we're gonna let it rest. He doesn't say for how long. Even though Gordon cooks his super similar to some of the other people on this list, I was really excited to try it because it's a different cut of steak that I don't normally cook with. All right, man, here we go. Well, I cooked it pretty much perfect, so I'm excited about that. I feel like I haven't ordered like a sirloin steak in a long time. I feel like the sirloin's not known to be a super tender cut. Let's see what we got, man. We should have these nice, you know, aromatic flavors. Wow. Wow. Hold on now. Now, I feel like this is a little unfair because I haven't cooked everybody's equally as good. I feel like the herby flavors, because this was a quicker cook, I'm losing my mind, guys. I've had so much steak today, I'm literally losing my mind. Because this came together quicker, I feel like the herb flavor is a lot more like aromatic. It, you know, it kind of didn't become bitter or anything like that. I feel like it's really imparting into the steak and the natural flavor of the sirloin a lot better than some of the other cuts of steak, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I mean, taste, that's a 10. Actually, this was my favorite. This was definitely my favorite. Texture-wise, the Wisman steak was absolutely just that crust and the fat. I'm gonna knock Wisman's taste down from a 10 to a 9. This will be a 10 on taste, but the texture was better on Josh Wisman's. So this is gonna get a 9 for texture, but we have one more steak. Let's get to it. Okay, and our final steak today is Nick Giovani, and the reason it's not on the board, it's on this rack because I had to salt it, put it in the fridge for overnight. So we've got a beautiful looking steak here. Now this one is cooked pretty much the exact same way as Josh. Nick is adding rosemary to our normal mixture of butter, garlic, and thyme. So that's one little difference, and of course, salting the steak overnight. Okay, let's get some pepper on it. So pre-salting it helps take a lot of moisture out of the steak, which can help intensify the flavor. And I think it can help with the sear as well by drying out the exterior of the steak. So food science-y approach to doing this. Also, your boy is feeling really bloated eating all these steaks. It's funny doing this video, like all these chefs have very similar methods, but there's always like one thing about it that is slightly different. And one other thing Nick Giovani says is he likes to have extra oil in the pan because it just helps it crisp up. So we're gonna put a little extra oil in there. And here we go, lay it away from you. And our steak is rocking. And if I didn't mention it earlier, Nick's cut of choice was a ribeye. Wow, look at that sear. Aromatic thin. All right, final steak is coming through. Ooh, that is looking good. Now because he is trained with Gordon's techniques, he also does the turbs on top. And of course, we're gonna let that rest for a little bit. Bro, I feel like I've turned old and frail because my body hurts after this video. I am so excited, but I have to wait. Like many of the steaks before it today, it looks so good with the herbs sitting on top, but I could not wait to try the little rosemary in addition to it. I love that flavor with my steaks. Here we go. I'm curious if I'm gonna really taste the rosemary, and I cooked this pretty darn well, boys. Whoa. The salt, bro. There is a really strong salt on that, and it's not the one I just added. It is the salt deep inside the steak. Try a more fatty piece, see if it balances it out a little bit. Wow. I probably put more salt than Nick would recommend. Not gonna cap. Texture, it's a 9. I just don't think it was as good as Joshua Wisman's texture. That's definitely my winner for texture for the day. Taste, I'm gonna give it an 8 for a total score of 17, which means today's winners are Gordon Ramsay and Joshua Wisman. They are tied. So a big comeback for Gordon after I screwed up his recipe in the last video. I'm sorry, Gordon. If you guys enjoyed this video, I did make a video where I tried to make every YouTuber's most viewed recipe, so we made something different for every single person. If you wanna see that, click up here. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.